Graduation day was supposed to feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like a warning, one I didn't understand until it was too late. My mother slipped a thin envelope into my hand, her smile stretched tight for the cameras flashing around us. "Your grandpa sent this for you, Sophia," she whispered, as if the whole world needed to hear her generosity. The envelope was weightless. I knew before I opened it that something was wrong. Inside were two bills, exactly $199. People clapped. My father nodded proudly. My mother nudged me. "Say thank you," she hissed. So I did. But the pit in my stomach didn't move. It stayed there cold, heavy, waiting. Days later, when Grandpa Walter walked into our living room, he didn't congratulate me, didn't ask about college, didn't even sit down. He just looked at me with steady eyes and asked, "Sophia, did the $50,000 I sent help your future?" My breath stopped. Everything did. I kept replaying the moment the envelope touched my hand. It was too light, too empty, too wrong. As my class lined up for photos, I stood off to the side, staring at the crease running down the center of the envelope like a warning I wasn't smart enough to decode yet. My mother, Linda, kept adjusting her hair, making sure every camera caught her proud parent expression. My father, Mark, wasn't even looking at me. He was busy bragging to another dad about how Jake, my younger brother, was next in line for greatness. No one asked how I felt. No one ever did. I finally unfolded the flap and pulled out the two bills. $199. That was it. Seriously? I breathed. My mother instantly appeared at my side, her nails digging into my arm through my graduation gown. "Sophia," she whispered sharply, "don't make that face. People are watching." "Mom, Grandpa sent this?" I asked quietly. She lifted her chin, keeping her smile frozen for a passing parent. "Yes. He doesn't have much these days. Just be grateful." But something was off. Grandpa Walter was never a just $199 man. He was old-fashioned, generous, the type who saved open birthday cards in shoeboxes but spent freely on the people he loved. He once drove 3 hours because Jake wanted a limited edition baseball glove. Why would he send me less than $200 for my graduation? My father finally noticed I wasn't smiling and walked over, irritation written across his face. "Sophia, for God's sake," he muttered, "act appreciative. Your mother is stressed enough. You just need to say thank you," he cut in. Jake jogged up, sweaty from taking pictures with his friends, his new $350 sneakers practically glowing. "Hey, Soph," he said through a mouthful of candy. "Mom said Grandpa sent you some cash. How much?" I hesitated, feeling the heat of their eyes. $199. Jake let out a short laugh. Weird number. Weird didn't even begin to cover it. When the ceremony ended, families rushed toward their graduates. Flowers, balloons, fancy dinners, proud tears. My family gave me a ride home in silence. My mother kept checking her phone. My father hummed to the radio. Jake scrolled. I held the envelope, turning it over and over in my hands. The cheap paper felt thinner every time, like it might crumble if I squeezed it too hard. Inside, something in me felt just as fragile. Was it disappointment? Confusion? Or the quiet, echoing truth that this wasn't the first time something about my family didn't add up? When we pulled into the driveway, my father turned off the engine and said, without looking back, "Don't mention the amount to Grandpa. It might embarrass him." That was the moment my stomach dropped. Because if there was one person in this world who never felt ashamed about giving, it was Grandpa Walter, and that was the moment I first suspected. This wasn't just about $199. It was about a lie much bigger than the envelope. People always assume the forgotten child becomes that way overnight. But invisibility? It grows slowly, quietly, year by year. Until one day you realize no one even turns when you speak. For me, it started long before the $199. I was 8 when I first noticed Jake got more smiles, more attention, more space to be loud. He didn't mean to take it. He just existed, and everyone else revolved around him. I remember holding up a drawing I was proud of, my first attempt at shading, a portrait of Grandpa Walter from an old photo. I stood in the living room waiting for someone, anyone, to look. Jake burst in waving a new baseball card. "Mom, look what Coach gave me!" Linda gasped like she'd just witnessed a miracle. My father cheered. My drawing slipped from my fingers. No one noticed it fall. Years passed. The pattern hardened. Birthdays were the worst. For Jake, balloons, cake shaped like a baseball diamond, piles of gifts he tore through with glittering eyes. For me, a sweater to keep warm, pencils for school, shoes practical for your age. Always practical, always just enough to function but never enough to feel seen. I would smile and say thank you because that's what quiet daughters do. When I turned 14, Grandpa sent us a surprise visit. He showed up with a box wrapped in gold paper, only to find out my mother had hidden it in the closet to open later. Later never came. I found out years afterward that Jake got a new gaming console that same week. One night, when I was 15, I finally asked the question that had built inside me like trapped steam. Mom, does Grandpa ever send anything just for me? She didn't look up from the sink. Sophia, please, don't start this. Jake has more needs. More needs than me? Her shoulders stiffened. You're older, you understand things. Jake is just a boy. I had no idea how wrong she was. I didn't understand things. I was learning things, painful things about who mattered in our household. The worst part wasn't the favoritism. It was how normal it became. Teachers praised Jake. Neighbors praised Jake. My parents bragged about Jake. When it came to me, they used smaller words. She's responsible. She's mature. She doesn't need much. Not needing much eventually turned me into a shadow. People don't give shadows gifts. People don't notice when shadows are hurt. And shadows definitely don't get $50,000. The day after graduation, I sat alone on my bed with the $199 envelope in my lap, replaying every childhood moment with new clarity. Every forgotten birthday. Every overshadowed accomplishment. Every letter from Grandpa I never saw. A thought slipped in like a shard of glass. What if this wasn't the first time my parents intercepted something meant for me? I swallowed hard. That envelope wasn't just thin. It was familiar. It fit perfectly into every memory of being second place in a family where I was supposed to be loved just as much. I didn't know it yet, but the truth wasn't waiting to be discovered. The truth was coming. And it would burn everything I thought I knew about my own parents. The morning after graduation, the house felt wrong. Not loud, not chaotic. Just wrong in that unnerving, too quiet way a house feels after a storm passes, but before you've checked the damage. I walked into the kitchen and nearly dropped my mug. My mother stood by the counter, humming softly, wearing a brand new gold necklace, the kind with delicate chains and tiny diamonds that definitely didn't come from the clearance section. "Morning, honey," she said, brushing a finger across the pendant like it was nothing. "Since when do you wear jewelry?" I asked. She froze for a millisecond, just enough for me to catch it, then waved her hand dismissively. "Your grandpa sent a little extra support." I treated myself. My chest tightened. Grandpa? Extra? There it was again, that word that didn't belong anywhere near the man who supposedly sent me $199. That same afternoon, I found my father in the living room, admiring a sleek new smartwatch he absolutely didn't need. "Dad? Where'd that come from?" He straightened. "Oh, this? Work bonus." "You work at the county office," I replied slowly. "You said there were no bonuses this year." A beat of silence. Then he chuckled awkwardly. "Sophia, you remember things too literally. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." The phrase people use when they need you to look away. But I wasn't looking away anymore. The next day, Jake strutted into the house, wearing limited edition sneakers, white leather, impossible to get, the kind resellers price at hundreds above retail. "Jake? Those are new." He grinned. "Yeah, Mom felt generous. Said we had some spare money." Spare money. We hadn't had spare anything in years. Bills taped to the fridge. Arguments about groceries. Excuses about tight months. But now? Suddenly we had spare money? The house itself started betraying their lies. A delivery box opened in the hallway. Inside was a velvet jewelry case. Receipt still attached. $349.99. Circled in blue pen. My stomach twisted. That night, walking past my parents' bedroom, I heard whispering through the door. My mother's voice light, almost giddy. Yes, it arrived. The bonus from your father? Oh, Walter has no idea. Yes, it's more than enough." I stopped breathing for a second. "Bonus. From your father, Walter." My grandpa. I backed away slowly, heart thudding. The next morning, she complained loudly about bills while fastening the new bracelet she definitely hadn't owned last week. "We're all making sacrifices," she said pointedly, looking straight at me. I stirred my coffee, staring into the swirl of cream like it might give me answers. She wasn't just lying. She was performing. The jewelry, the attitude, the sudden generosity toward Jake, it all felt like pieces of a puzzle I was never meant to solve. But a question had started forming inside me, sharp and insistent. What exactly did Grandpa send? And where did it actually go? I didn't have the truth yet, but I could feel it heavy and close, like thunder rumbling behind distant clouds. And when the lightning finally struck, it wouldn't just light up the sky. It would expose everything. 2 days after I heard my mother whispering about a bonus from your father, my phone buzzed while I was folding laundry in my room. At first, I thought it was another group message from classmates celebrating their graduation dinners. It wasn't. It was Grandpa. "Walter, proud of you, sweetheart. I hope the support helped you start something for yourself. Visiting soon. I want to hear everything." I stared at the message so long the screen dimmed. Support? Start something? What support? I tried reading it again, slower, like maybe the meaning would change if I took a breath. But the words stayed the same. A cold pulse spread through my chest. I walked downstairs, holding my phone, planning to ask casually something simple like, "Hey Mom, did Grandpa send anything else?" I rehearsed it in my head. But the moment I stepped into the kitchen, I saw them. My dad holding a new bottle of bourbon. My mother comparing earrings in the microwave reflection. Jake scrolling on his new tablet. The words dried in my throat. I turned around and walked out. That night, I called my best friend, Emily. She'd known my family dynamics for years, probably better than anyone. I sank onto my bed and whispered into the phone. Grandpa messaged me. He said he hopes the support helped." What support?" There was a pause. Then Emily exhaled sharply. "Sophia, that doesn't sound like $199. "I know," I said. "And he's visiting soon. What do I even say to him? Tell him the truth." I covered my face. I don't want to blow up my family. Emily's voice softened. "Sophia, they built the bomb. You're just standing near it." Her words stayed with me long after we hung up. Over the next few days, the house changed. Not physically, emotionally. The walls felt tighter, the air heavier. Every door click sounded suspicious. Every whisper sounded like a secret. My mother scrubbed the house like she was preparing for an inspection, polishing faucets, reorganizing shelves, even ironing throw pillow covers. Jake asked her why. "Your grandfather is visiting," she snapped. "This house needs to look appropriate." Appropriate, meaning expensive, meaning competent, meaning we need to look like people who don't steal from their own daughter. My father rehearsed lines about tight months and stretching what we have, muttering them under his breath like he was practicing for a play. The fake version of my family, the one they used for outsiders, began to appear piece by piece. I watched quietly from the hallway as my mom arranged fruit bowls we never ate and placed her new jewelry carefully into sightlines. Then came Jake. He flopped onto the couch beside me, scrolling his tablet. "Grandpa's coming tomorrow," he said with a shrug. "Mom says we need to look humble." I turned to him. "Humble?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, like things have been hard." My stomach lurched. Hard? Things weren't hard. Things were comfortable for everyone except me. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured Grandpa's face reading the truth on mine. Was I supposed to lie? Smile? Pretend $199 was life-changing? I didn't have answers. But I knew one thing. Whatever Grandpa was expecting to hear, I wasn't ready for the question he was bringing with him, and I had no idea how close the explosion really was. Grandpa arrived on a Saturday afternoon, the kind of warm, bright day that should have felt safe. But the moment I heard his car roll into the driveway, my stomach twisted so hard it felt like my ribs were tightening around it. My mother shot up from the couch like she'd been waiting at attention for hours. "He's here," she hissed, smoothing her blouse and nudging Jake to sit up straight. My father cleared his throat, adjusting his "we're struggling" flannel shirt he put on specifically for this performance. I stood there, hands shaking, wiping my sweaty palms on my jeans. Then the doorbell rang. It echoed through the house like a verdict. My father opened the door with a dramatic sigh, like he'd been slaving away all morning. Grandpa Walter stepped inside, holding a small gift bag, his posture straight despite his age, his eyes bright and searching. The moment he saw me, his entire face lit up. "Sophia," he said warmly, his voice thick with pride. "My girl." He wrapped me in a hug so tight I felt my eyes burn. It had been months since I'd felt a hug like that one that didn't cost me something. But then it happened. The shift. He pulled back, holding my shoulders, looking me straight in the eyes. His smile faded, his brows knit, as if he was expecting something specific, something he didn't see. We moved to the dining table. My mother brought out dishes she never cooked: roast chicken, garlic, mashed potatoes, fresh herbs. She kept pushing her jewelry behind her hair so Grandpa wouldn't notice it glinting. The first few minutes were small talk. Then, slowly, the room fell quiet. Grandpa rested his fork on his plate. The sound was small, but it sliced clean through the air. He looked at me again, this time with a kind of careful seriousness that made my pulse jump. "Sophia," he began. My mother stiffened. My father froze mid-chew. Jake swallowed loudly. Grandpa's eyes never left mine. "Did the $50,000 I sent help you start your future?" Silence. Not the ordinary kind, the thick, suffocating kind that presses against your ears. I blinked. Then blinked again. I thought maybe I misheard him. Maybe my brain filled in something impossible. But he just sat there, waiting. The room spun. $50,000. My voice cracked. "Grandpa, I only got $199. My mother's fork slipped and clattered against her plate. Jake choked on air. My father's jaw fell open. But Grandpa, he didn't even look surprised. He looked devastated. Slowly, painfully, his eyes shifted from me to my parents. His voice dropped, low and steady. "Where is the rest of my granddaughter's money?" My mother tried to laugh, but it came out deranged and brittle. "Walter, don't be ridiculous." "Linda." He didn't raise his voice. But the way he said her name made her snap shut like a trap. He turned to my father next. "Mark?" My father swallowed. "Walter, things have been tight. We handled it the best we could." Grandpa's jaw clenched. "So you took $50,000 meant for Sophia's future and spent it on yourselves?" "Dad, please," my mother whispered, eyes wide, glossy. Grandpa leaned forward, hands on the table. "I wrote it in every note. I said it every time. For Sophia's education. For her dreams. For her future." Jake whispered, voice shaking. "Mom said Grandpa only sent 200. Grandpa's eyes widened, not in surprise, but in confirmation, like he'd suspected long before this moment. He looked back at me, heartbreak dripping from his expression. "Sophia, I am so sorry. I thought you were building something. I thought you were starting." My voice cracked. "I didn't know. I thought you didn't. I always believed in you," he said, cutting me off, eyes fierce. "I sent what I could to prove it." My mother burst into tears, reaching across the table toward me. "Sophia, sweetheart, listen." I pulled my hand away so fast the chair scraped. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't touch me." Grandpa straightened, the decision already solidifying behind his eyes. "This ends tonight," he said. My parents looked like the floor had vanished under them, and in a way it had. Because the truth was finally out, and nothing in that house would survive what came next. When Grandpa said, "This ends tonight," something inside the room snapped. Not a sound, a feeling. Like the final thread holding our family together had been pulled too far, and finally tore. My mother stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. "Walter, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Grandpa said, voice calm but dangerous. "You stole from your own daughter." "We did not steal," she cried, clutching her chest. "We borrowed. Just borrowed. Things were hard." "Hard?" Grandpa echoed, his gaze sliding to her sparkling bracelet. "Is that bracelet hard? The shoes? The smartwatch? The new tablet? The designer bag I saw by the door?" Each item dropped into the air like a stone. My father flinched at every word. He tried to step forward. "Walter, listen. We were going to tell you." "When?" Grandpa snapped. "When you spent every last dollar. When Sophia found out on her own. When her future was nothing but ashes while Jake's closet grew." Jake shrank into his seat, cheeks flushed with shame. My father's face reddened. "We're her parents. We know what's best." "No," Grandpa said coldly. "You know what benefits you. Don't pretend this was for her." My mother wiped at her tears, mascara streaking. She grabbed my hand again. Sophia, tell him. Tell him we were still supporting you. Tell him we gave you everything we could. I pulled my hand away slowly this time, deliberately. I don't even know what's real anymore. Her face crumpled. Grandpa reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a stack of papers, printouts, dates, receipts. There, he said, sliding them across the table. Bank confirmation, $50,000 transferred 5 months ago. Memo clearly says, for Sophia's education and future only. Every word felt like it burned through the wood. My father stared at the papers like they were a death sentence. My mother whispered, we didn't use all of it. Some is left. Grandpa's eyes narrowed. How much? She hesitated. Too long. 8,000. 8,000. My breath left me. $42,000. Gone. My father stepped in, voice raised. We needed things. Jake needed things. And Sophia, she's always fine. She always handles herself. Something inside me finally cracked. Handles myself? I said, my voice breaking as anger shot up my throat. You mean the way I handled wearing the same shoes for 3 years? The way I handled paying for my own art supplies? The way I handled being invisible while you spoiled Jake with everything? Jake looked down, unable to meet my eyes. You took money meant for me? I whispered. For my future, for college, for my life. My mother sobbed harder. We were drowning, Sophia. Then why didn't you tell me? I snapped. Why didn't you ask Grandpa for help honestly? Because he wouldn't give us anything. My father erupted. He only cared about you, always you. Even when Jake was the one who deserved more. His words echoed like a punch. Deserved more. Jake deserved more. Not me. Grandpa's face turned to steel. Your jealousy ruined your own child's future. My father swung toward him. Don't judge how I raise my family. It is no longer your family, Grandpa said quietly. You forfeited that the second you stole from Sophia. My mother dropped to her knees beside Grandpa's chair. Please, Walter, we made mistakes. Big ones. We know. Just don't take her from us. Grandpa looked down at her with deep disappointment. You took her long before I arrived tonight. I am stated. The room went silent. Dead, suffocating, silent. Then Grandpa turned to me. Get your things, Sophia. You're coming home with me. My mother scrambled up, grabbing my arm desperately. No, please. She's our daughter. I pulled away, tears finally spilling. A daughter you betrayed. Jake finally spoke, voice trembling. Sophia, I didn't know. I swear. Mom told me Grandpa never sends much. I should have asked. I'm sorry. For the first time in years, I saw fear in his eyes, not entitlement, not smugness. Fear and guilt. But it didn't change the truth. I stood straighter. I'm leaving. My father slammed his hand on the table. You walk out that door, don't come back. Grandpa stepped between us. If she ever comes back here, it won't be alone. My father's face twisted. You're ruining everything. No, Grandpa replied. You already did. He put a hand on my shoulder. Let's go, Sophie. As we walked toward the door, my mother called out between sobs. Please, don't do this. We can fix it. I turned back one last time. You can't fix something you chose to break. And then I stepped outside. The door clicked shut behind me, soft, final, nothing dramatic. But it was the loudest ending of my life. The night air outside felt colder than it should have. Maybe it wasn't the air. Maybe it was everything I had just walked away from. Grandpa didn't say anything at first. He just opened the passenger door of his car and waited, giving me space, not questions, not pressure, just quiet. I sank into the seat and finally let out the breath I'd been holding for months, maybe years. When he started driving, the road glowed under the streetlights, long and empty, stretching forward like something that finally belonged to me. After a few minutes, he spoke. Sophia, you did nothing wrong, not one thing. I blinked hard, staring out the window. I should have known, I whispered. I should have asked you. I should have. No, he interrupted gently. They hid it from you. They took advantage of your kindness. That's not something to blame yourself for. His words hurt not because they were harsh, but because they were true. When we arrived at his home, Grandpa opened the door for me, just like he used to when I was little. The house smelled like cedar, old books, and something warm security maybe. Inside, he sat me at the kitchen table and placed a thick envelope in front of me. My stomach twisted. What's this? Everything you were meant to receive, he said. Every dollar, every document, every plan I made for you. My hands shook as I opened it. Bank statements, scholarship recommendations he'd written, investment plans under my name, letters he'd mailed, letters I had never seen, congratulating me on accomplishments my parents never told him about. I touched each one carefully, like they were fragile pieces of a past I never got to have. Grandpa placed his hand over mine. From now on, he said softly, nothing meant for you will pass through anyone else's hands. Not your parents, not anyone's, only yours. Something inside me cracked, not the painful kind this time, but the kind that lets light in. He showed me to the guest room, now officially my room. Fresh sheets, a desk beside the window, a small corkboard waiting to be filled with new plans. I stood in the doorway, overwhelmed. This is too much. It's couldn't tell you. No, he said. This is the bare minimum of what you've always deserved. I pressed my lips together, fighting back tears. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, sunlight creeping across the floorboards, gentle and unhurried. I sat at the desk, running my fingers across the wood, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, possibility. Grandpa walked by the doorway holding 2 mugs of coffee. Busy thinking? He asked. Busy dreaming, I whispered. He smiled. Good, dream louder now. That afternoon, we sat together planning my next steps, college options, art programs, living arrangements, financial independence. For the first time in my life, my future wasn't a foggy, unreachable thing. It was real, it was ahead of me, and it was mine. But the biggest change wasn't the money, or the plans, or the safety. It was the fact that I finally chose myself, and I wasn't turning back. I used to think beginnings felt loud, like fireworks or spotlight moments, or some dramatic turning point where everything suddenly makes sense. But my new beginning started quietly, with the sound of morning light brushing across Grandpa's kitchen floor, with the steady hum of his old coffee maker, with a feeling I hadn't known since childhood, safety. A week after leaving my parents' house, I enrolled in a local community college with a program in digital design and illustration, something I never dared to imagine before. Grandpa insisted on driving me to the campus tour himself. As we walked through the hallways, he nudged me gently. Imagine where you'll be a year from now, he said. For the first time, I let myself imagine it. A studio, my own portfolio, projects that belonged to me, not assignments done between taking care of Jake or helping with bills that were never mine to pay. Just me, becoming me. In the evenings, Grandpa and I sat at the dining table, reviewing scholarship deadlines and budgeting plans. He didn't just hand me money. He taught me how to grow it, how to protect it, how to build a life so stable that no one could ever take anything from me again. Each lesson felt like he was placing bricks beneath my feet, steady ground where there once was none. One night, while sketching at my new desk, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I looked different, not older, not harder, just more there, more present than the shadow I used to be. I didn't check my phone much anymore. The messages from my parents and Jake had slowed to a trickle. Apologies, excuses, promises, a few pleas. I read them, but didn't respond. I wasn't angry anymore. But I wasn't going back either. Sometimes healing isn't forgiveness. Sometimes healing is choosing distance so your wounds finally have room to close. On a Saturday morning, I sat with Grandpa on the porch, our new tradition. He handed me a cup of tea and asked, gently, "Do you regret leaving?" I thought for a long moment. "No," I said softly. "I regret staying as long as I did." He nodded, eyes shining with something between pride and sadness. "That's how you know you're growing." The breeze rustled the trees, birds chattered in the yard. Life moved gently around us, uncomplicated, honest, peaceful. My beginning wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't something the world would notice, but it was real. I wasn't holding an empty envelope anymore. I wasn't fighting for scraps of affection. I wasn't disappearing into the background of my own story. For the first time, I had a future I could call mine. And as I looked out across Grandpa's yard, sunlight warming my face, I made myself a promise. I will never let anyone else write my life for me again. From here on out, every page belongs to me.